Uh-oh. I've never been great at finishing the things I start. I find most times I drift off to other projects, or lose focus on the ones I've already started, and end up abandoning it for some arbitrary reason. Oh, I didn't have enough time, or it just wasn't going how I wanted it to. And even when I want to see something to its completion, it's still sometimes difficult getting over that mental hurdle. I mean, ask anyone on my Discord server, they'll tell you how lazy I am.
Actually, don't.
I've been making maps for a long time now, about a decade almost, and in that time, I've yet to fully finish a single map. I've always been of the good enough mindset, since I often let my perfectionism side out and will start to make horrible changes because I think that another idea would be better. So I end up deleting what I have and essentially starting over from zero, which traps me in a weird cycle of redoing what I've already done because I want to try something different rather than just starting a new project, which I guess is where this habit developed from. This year, however, I wanted to participate in the 72-hour TF2 jam to prove to myself that I can, in fact, finish a decent map in 3 days. I'd participated in the jam before with, middling success. I mean, I made this like 5 years ago and in 3 days, so I guess I did it.
But it's not very good?
And since then, I've always wanted to make a genuine attempt at a proper, real TF2 map. Not just something I make one version of and then never touch again. This year, I wanted to make something that I was and could be proud of for years to come. But before I even lay a single brush in the Hammer editor, I needed an idea. I figured, because this was a shorter event, I'd pick a symmetrical game mode, since by that logic, I would only have to make half of a map, and then I would copy-paste it to the other half. So essentially, I would do less work for more map. Symmetrical maps in TF2 can be made in two main ways, either by applying rotational symmetry or mirrored symmetry, the key difference being that if a map is rotationally symmetrical, a route will be on the same side no matter which team you are on. But if a map is made using mirrored symmetry, a route on red may be on your left, but on blue it's on your right, which leads to a sort of different feeling depending on which team you're playing as, and kind of leads to this weird sensation of some people preferring to play as a certain team on certain mirrored maps, despite the fact that they're technically symmetrical. Ultimately, there are great maps made using both methods, but I tend to prefer rotational symmetry because I enjoy the consistency of it. Rollouts are the same for each team, and the map is laid out the same on each side, so there's no confusion when you're swapping teams. It's always the same. In terms of symmetrical game modes, I thought it'd be fun to tackle the game mode that I had done previously, as a more direct comparison of my improvement. So my plan was to make a rotationally symmetrical payload race map with an emphasis on height variation, because I personally really enjoy maps with a lot of height variation. And since I felt sort of trapped in this endless cycle of constantly winding back up where I started after getting to a certain point in a project, it'd be funny to reflect that in the map name in some sort of way. Maybe make it a part of the gameplay too? So, after grabbing pen and paper, I tried to draw out some of my ideas of the map, and help me figure out the concept of the map further. I don't normally tend to draw entire layouts anymore, but I do prefer to have some kind of idea for the main set piece or location of an area of the map, and then to build out from there. I found over the years that when I start with a map, I tend to pick an area and just build around it until I have a finished product. It kind of helps ground me in a sense where I can constantly come back to this main area and just make things that connect to it, rather than making the entire map all at once. And since I was making a payload race map, I figured that it would be best to start with the center of the map. For my center, I wanted a large bridge spanning across a massive chasm, with each team working to push under the bridge, then through each other's courtyards, and then up to the top before dropping their payloads off of the bridge in some kind of final explosion. To be honest, I didn't really think much about the actual route, more so than the idea, or how the track would actually flow, or what structures would be on each side, but I knew that there was a bridge, and I was pretty confident that once I got the bridge ball rolling, it would sort of figure itself out. I also figured thematically that I'd just make the map kind of look like Hightower, because I like how bright that map is, and I wanted my map to be very spacious for vertically inclined players. One of the things that I personally hate is when I'm doing an insane rocket jump, and then I hit an incredibly low, invisible ceiling. I strive for realism in my cartoon arena team-based action platformer shooter, and the last thing I want is someone's immersion being broken when they're playing their proud patriotic soldier and getting hit by something from melee.
FPS Doug, also quite helpful.
Quack at the duck sawmill.
And I hit the skybox.
How do you hit the skybox?
I don't know.
Where?
Mini sentries.
Please.
Mini sentries!
I wanted to avoid this as much as possible and make it clear that no one would feel the same pain that I felt on other maps while playing my map. In fact, a lot of maps are typically made in ways like this, and you can tell a lot about what a map maker likes and doesn't like in gameplay by the types of maps that they make. I think it's really obvious, for example, how I main NG because of how many nest spots and how I tend to cater to engineers a little bit. I make sure that they're viable in my maps because I play engineer. But don't psychoanalyze someone just because they made something in a certain way. That's weird.
You're weird.
So, I have my game mode, I have my concept, and I have motivation and a good night's sleep heading into day 1. And as the clock struck 5 p.m. Coordinated Universal Time on September 15th, it was finally
Showtime.